My name is Max Banfield. Welcome to my talk. I'm the inventor of the world's first standing computer desk and also the method for treating chronic fatigue syndrome, which other people call pacing. And the next few weeks, I am considering doing a series of talks on the coronavirus, COVID-19. And to do that, I've decided it might be easier just to draw diagrams on the whiteboard behind me. But I've put this display up, so I thought I'd explain that before I take all those items off it and leave the whiteboard ready for that talk next. So I'll start here. I've put this display up in my lounge room for a visit by Tony Zappia, who's a local MP, Member of Parliament, and I wanted to explain to him that I developed all these ideas here in Adelaide, in his district, and that other people are claiming that they did the research. So when he walked through the door, this is what he saw. Behind it is a map of the world, but that's just neither here nor there. But this here, this diagram, is what he saw. This is a photo of my room. And you can see the diagrams, you can see the whiteboard there, and you can see my books there, and you can see various displays. I also put up displays like this at various business meetings for the same purpose, to tell people I did all this research, not the other people who are claiming that they did it. There's a lot of people claiming that they did it. And on this table here, to make it look good, I put a red type of tablecloth on it, and I try to make it look presentable, And these are my books, some of them laid out, and these are some of the articles or newspaper articles about me in the early days when the newspapers were, publishing things about me. They don't anymore. But these are some of my books. At one stage I had about 300 medical books, and I could access information quickly. I sold half of them about 10 or 15 years ago because no one interested in all this stuff then. Now it's international, but nobody was interested then. So I sold my books, and these are some of the ones that I've got left, and there's about 150 in total. This is my book, Robert Louis Stevenson, and that's that book, and it's you can see there it's all about the life of Robert Louis Stevenson and his health problems. And you can see somewhere there is an audio C on how I cured heart disease with a vegetarian diet, and that's the actual CD. That's available for $5 on the internet if anybody's interested. That Robert Louis Stevenson's book's about, I think, $5 or $9, can't remember. And I used to sell them to school and public libraries. Now these books here, this is one. That's a diagram an artist drew neatly for me. But it's from this essay that I wrote in 1980, that leaning towards a desk compresses the chest and abdomen to cause chest pains, breathing problems, abdominal pains, kidney aches, etc. And in those days, all the universities were teaching that these pains were caused by psychological factors, part of mental illness, because nothing showed on X-rays. I said, the reason nothing shows up in X-rays is because they're caused by this postural pressure. And so that's the first time that essay was published. It took me 5 years to write that theory, and that's the diagram that an artist drew of that to make it look neat. And a year after I wrote that theory, I had this sort of like an advertisement to say sit up straight because sitting's making you sick. I also wrote theories on evolution of the upright posture in those times. Right, now the next diagram here, and this one here, this here is from this book, and I'll see if I can show it to you. This is a 1,000-page book, started off at 20 pages. So this part of my diagram, right, is from this page in my book. That's written by Waterhouse, what's his name, Hawkins, in about 1881. And that's different animals like chimpanzees and monkeys and humans to show the differences in posture. So I did it like this. So poor posture compresses your chest and interferes with your energy levels and your oxygen levels. Also compresses your your stomach, interferes with your digestion. So these people are healthier than those, and that's why the human body evolved in upright posture. That's my theory. And some people dispute it, but they'll dispute anything before they decide, oh, it's a good idea. We'll say we did that. So that's that. And then I started off in 1994. That's about 14 years after I wrote that theory about sitting in a chair making people sick. And as the book got, and then the first book I wrote in 1994 was about 20 pages, which is the one I just showed you. Now this one's about probably 70 or 80 pages, and that's about standing at a desk. It didn't cure any pain, and I didn't know it at the time, but other people have designed desks like that. Nobody bought them because they're like that and they didn't know, they're no good. But I kept going, and so what else? What's next? So standing, and then if you have a look at this book, a couple of years later, one of my books, I drew that diagram, man standing in an angled platform. That still didn't solve any problems, but it just made pain that I had at the time a little bit less. And then the next diagram is, I started adding benches. What's the next one? Here we are. Let's have a look. That shows a man standing at a desk. And then that shows him standing in front of a computer. And that's the desk that I stood in front of, and the pain that I had at the time was gone. That's what furniture companies make all around the world today. They don't make any of the others. And if they say they got it from Leonardo da Vinci or Winston Churchill, they're kidding themselves. And other people copy that diagram and want you to believe that it's art. It's not that science. It's my science. All they do is copy it. And it's illegal because it's my copyright. And that's where the diagrams come from. Took me 23 years to work that out. So they could copy it in 23 minutes. So these are the books, that one's sitting at a desk, standing at a desk, standing angle platform, etc. So, and that is a close-up of that. And when Tony Zappia came here, the politician, he spent 15 minutes looking at that. And I thought, well, that's good. It shows he's interested in what I'm doing, and it shows he understands it. A lot of people didn't when I started. They tell him I was wrong. And I didn't know it at the time, but he's a former health minister, national. And they'd passed occupational health and safety laws to reimburse the fees of doctors and physios who prescribe standing desks to office workers who need them for health reasons. And I was sick of the dog at work. It was useless going to a doctor because they didn't know what to do. And physios told me they're the medical school dropouts. They don't like study. So they just drop down to physio and get a degree and go out and earn money and go off on holidays. So they weren't studious and they didn't care. But now they want you to believe they've done all the research. And they're the ones getting paid. Without me, they would still be sending people to, mental hospitals for psychotherapy. And all those hospitals now, they're closing down because half the customers who used to go there don't go there anymore. They go to physios who want you to believe they thought of this. So that's what happened there. Now, what else have I got? So this is a 1,000-page book, and I provided an index to it about, lots and lots of entries to help people learn about my theory. But they use that to rewrite a book. One person's written a book called The New Rules on Posture. Where do you think they came from? And so that's all that. Now this is a picture of the Australian Prime Minister, Malcolm Turnbull. Oh, just going back to Tony Zappi when he saw that, I wanted to give him a 20-minute talk on this. But he was intent on reading that, so I let him go. He stayed in my house for about 40 minutes, and then he said he had to go somewhere else. And he was with an assistant, and so I didn't get to give him a talk. But after, I said that the National Health and Medical Research Institute in North Terrace were claiming that they got the ideas from international experts. Well, they obviously got them from me. And so I said the government should pay me 5% royalties before they reimburse the fees of doctors and physios, because they're using my ideas to earn a fee, and the government's saving billions of dollars in healthcare costs because of me. He disagreed. He said there's copyright problems and I've got to see a lawyer and all that. Well, I rang the NH and MRC, and their new $300 million building in North Terrace, probably funded with the amount of money I've saved the government on healthcare costs, and they passed me from, the boss is out, I'll send you to this department and that department. And it was like ringing up a government department, and you want to talk to one person, and you've got to go to 6 people before you get there. So with the NH and MRC, the people on the phone have the sense of guilt in their voice. They knew I produced the ideas. And they were trying to buck pass, so that led to nowhere. So I stopped. Stopped wasting my time phoning them up. And then a year later, I went to a meeting, a public display of the NH and MRC. And I said to this guy who worked there, probably in the administration, I said, did you know I invented the standing computer desk that you've got in your building now that you put in before anyone moved in? He said, yeah, that's brilliant. That's absolutely amazing. I said, did you know that when I invented it, all the universities were telling me I was wrong? I said, yeah, but we know it's right now. That's just to say congratulations. And I said, did you know that the furniture companies who supplied your desk should be paying me royalties? And he put on this arrogant look, stood upright and turned his back on me and walked away. Don't be disgusting. He thinks they can make $1 billion out of my idea and I'm ridiculous for wanting payment? And they're using it for the health of their scientists to improve their health? Very unusual. Something I didn't expect. So Malcolm Turnbull got elected into office as Prime Minister. And the newspapers put in this article about him. He says he's really up with the latest and the best in fashion and science. And he's got these fine china from China for when he has a cup of tea. And he's got a standing desk because it's the latest and the best in scientific innovation. And I phoned up the blooming government and I said, you know I invented that. They won't answer my calls. he gets a lot of status in the community because he stands in front of it. The furniture company make money out of it because they make it. I'm the guy who invented it. And I go, some people say, oh, I've got common sense, they could have invented it. That's impossible. All they'd invent is a tall desk. They don't know anything about health. Right, so this is the President of America, Barack Obama, at the time, said he's joining the standing desk bandwagon because he's really up to date with the latest and the best in modern science. And the government, the White House spent $700,000 installing standing desks and desktops in the White House. They're not paying me royalties either. And they're giving the impression that this is something come out of the scientific community or America somewhere. And the furniture companies want you to believe that they're the world's leading authorities on furniture design. No, I designed it. They make it. And they make variations of it. Apparently, if you change a couple of nuts and bolts, you can say you owned it and you invented it. Well, they can't. They just do. Okay, so that's it now. This is another photo of my box, just to show them in sequence. That's 1980, I wrote The Theory of Sitting. That's the first book, second, 34th, getting up to about, from 20 pages, about 30, then 100, and then about 300 pages, and then about 500 pages. Eventually, over 6 years, that book became 1,000 pages on how and why I invented the standing desk. Now, when I found out that other people are claiming that they did the research and they're making billions of dollars profit and I'm getting nothing, so I'm not publishing to give my name as in Santa Claus. I'm not going to help anybody until I get paid. So I stopped publishing essays. And these are some of the things that I haven't published. And there's a lot of things I could publish, but why? The university's going to teach it, government going to save money, furniture company make billions, and I'm going to get nothing. And doctor and physio to make money. And I'm not publishing anymore until something changes. The cause of the symptoms of fatigue and chronic fatigue. How to prevent chronic fatigue and its relapses. Some people think they know how because I caught my ideas. They don't know how. How to diagnose chronic fatigue. The exercise method and the complicated aspects of fatigue. And how to do it without problems. They got a lot of problems. I don't have any problems, but I haven't published why. The cause of several other previously unexplainable symptoms. There's lots of them. A newer, more effective way of diagnosing and treating slipped discs. That's a major cost to taxpayers and the economy. I'm not going to tell them how to solve that problem either. The cause of non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. I had that form of cancer for 6 years, 1994 to 2000. I'm still alive 20 years later. A famous radio announcer, Bob Francis, his wife was in there. She's a famous radio announcer as well. And she died. She only had the cancer for a year. And she hated her husband. She went nuts in the hospital. And she was swearing because she said she's been working for 30 years as a radio announcer, got a lot of money. She's about to retire and go on cruise ships and holidays and enjoy herself. She's really annoyed at the fact he's going to die. Wasted her life. Well, I don't publish what I think about cause and cures for cancer because the radio announcers, TV announcers won't interview me. They'll wait till the university say, oh, we are the experts and we thought of it. But rich people and poor people die. Disease doesn't only affect poor people. And if I write a theory, guess who's going to benefit from the most? Rich people. And they don't want to pay me? Okay. So, the cause of non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. Now, a detailed description of what I did to survive cancer for 22 years. I also haven't published how to use standing desk properly or what the long-term harmful effects can be. the long-term follow-up studies of several common illnesses. A lot of diseases are not studied because, like a politician will see 4 years ahead, and because that's the next election. Well, researchers, if the funds run out, 200,000 a year, they'll stop doing research. And they don't, to study the long-term effects of disease that go for 50 years, it costs billions. Right, well, I've actually lived for that 50. I've studied for that 50, and I know the long-term effects. It costs billions of dollars for anyone else to find out, but nobody wants to pay me. I'm not publishing. So there's quite a few diseases where the long-term effects are not known because it's too expensive to study. And nobody studies. Nobody does research for free. You look at these people, they're raising millions and millions of dollars for research because nobody does research for free, and neither do I. But they just expect me to for some reason, because I was going on copyright. They get money in advance. I was going copyright. You want me to publish? Pay me to use my methods. They said, oh, no, it's out there in the public domain. We could use it for free. Well, I'm not publishing anymore until somebody starts paying copyright. So that's that. Is there anything I've missed? Oh, this is copyright law. After the printing press was invented, people in England started stealing books, or famous books from Europe. And because it might take a guy 20 years to write a book, and the printing press in England can copy 1 million copies in a week or something and make a fortune and not pay copyright. That created a lot of fuss. But anyway, so then the authors of books said, if you don't bloody pay, we don't write. And the printing presses are printing 1 million books full of blank pages because there's nothing to write about. And then you get people writing books that nobody wants to read anyway. So you want good authors, you pay royalties, right? And the people in printing presses, they don't want to pay royalties. Like furniture companies don't want to pay royalties for inventing a standing desk. Human nature. It's not that pretty, is it? So when they stole these books from Europe and wrote them in English in millions, the authors of the books went broke. The bludgers who stole them made millions. That's what's happening to me. Anyway, the person who does the difficult task of developing the art goes broke and the thieves get rich. That's when copyright law is burnt. It happens. When they steal copyright. It's considered detrimental to the progress of civilization. It is. I'm not bloody publishing again. Look at all the people out there crying and wanting help. They can pay for the people who are thieves. They can't cure disease. They're too lazy. And then there's certain ethics and morals in it. So you can read the copyright laws if you want. I've published them about what copyright law is supposed to be. Except I get lawyers telling me, oh, too bad, sucker, you should have taken out a patent. Who needs lawyers, right? And one lawyer said he can't defend me in court because it's unethical. I said, why? Because he's already taking out a patent for a furniture company. In other words, he can't work for the thief and me at the same time because it's unethical. And he can't stop working for the thief who's making a standing desk because that's the guy paying him a fee. I haven't got any money, so he's going to work for the thief. So that's what's happening. Now, next, I'll be able to take this down now. I should leave it there. It looks pretty good. And behind it is a whiteboard. And next week I'll start talking about coronavirus. Thank you for listening.